Hello, welcome to the bridge pool. It's called the bridge pool because behind the camera is a bridge. On the River Wye, Herefordshire, on the Aronston beach in particular. Today's target is going to be a pike. It's the last day of 2021, so we're going to try and start the fireworks early for New Year's Eve. We'd really like to get a 40-pound pike. They are in here, we're sure of it. We've seen them follow lures, salmon lures and things like that. And we've landed 30s, and these fish are a fair bit bigger than that, so that's the target one day. The river is very much up and coloured, which is a good thing for river fishing for pike in this river, because it tends to push the fish in towards the bank, into the margin, which makes life a lot easier. So, the rig for today is an old Cardinal bait runner reel, loaded with 20-pound mono now, Fox mono. We were using the 35 or 45-pound braid, but we found in recent years, or more recently, I've pressure tested that with my weighing scales, and although it was a 35-pound braid, it snapped at 22 pounds on the knot. So what's the point? So I've now gone to 20-pound mono. I'm doing a sort of float ledger, and for that I've got stops on the line which are adjustable. They slide up and down, so I can put the float pretty much wherever I want to, whatever depth I want. And that's on the mono, and that comes down to a very lightweight, sort of 1/4 ounce in old money, little drilled shot, which again, I put a stop on the line, just because I can, and that I can slide up, so I can actually adjust the length of the hook length to get that to flow off the bottom of the river like that, you see. Right, I've then got a pre-made, I think it's a 25-pound, 30-pound stainless steel trace, swivel trace, and a single 3/0 circle hook. Now, one moment. Unpaid promotion here. These are the stops I use, simply because they don't go through the eye of the float, the Fox float. And I get these off a well-known online site, beginning with E. It's the latest version that I've purchased, and I've had fish to just under 20 pound on them so far, and they haven't failed me. Right, the bait we'll be using today will be a combination of whatever I could get from the tackle shop, basically. I got some small perch, and I've got some very small or medium-sized roach, I think. Or are they perches? I don't know, it doesn't matter. Anyway, they are not sea fish baits, because I don't agree with using sea fish baits, because they are trawled by super trawlers and the sea hasn't got enough of them left. At least these are bred in captivity and raised in ponds and lakes purely for the purpose of using as bait. So we're not going to run out of small perch and small roach. We use the smaller baits because even the 30 and 40-pound pike here will take a small bait, and when you're using a single hook, if you put it through the head, the number of times the fish will just pick up the bait and swim around with it, because they're not that hungry. They're just picking them up, and they go around like a dog with a ball in its mouth waiting for you to throw it. It is so annoying. So the idea is a small bait, and you'll notice I'm wearing gloves to stop my hands getting stinky. Now, small bait, single hook. I used to try and get the fish on a sink and draw method, which did account for maybe nearly half the fish that I landed. However, I now choose to put the hook, you see, with a smaller bait, single hook, stands proud. Now, any fish picking that up even a jack pike, is more than likely to get that hook inside the mouth. So when you pull, lift or strike into the fish, you're actually going to hook it, and not, as we were before, just coming back with one half of the fish, because they were grabbing them here. Larger joey mackerel, they were grabbing them in the middle, and all we get is the head back with the hook in. Okay, so there we are. Right, anyway, that's enough of me chattering, wasting time. I'm now going to go and see if I can get one. Just up there. You can see how high the water is. You can see handrails. These are steps that go down another 6-8 feet down onto a fishing platform down below me. So anyway, let's see how we get on, shall we? Right, so here we are. We're going to be fishing this back eddy slack behind that willow tree. We've set the depth at about 10 feet, 9-10 feet, because we know there's quite a bit of water here. We're just going to drop this out. And see if that takes us down onto the bottom. And with that little drilled ball, little drilled shot, we'll soon know whether we're on the bottom or not. Yeah, we are just on the bottom there by the look of it. And as long as it holds bottom without dragging under, oh, there we are, just lifted the bait up off the bottom, and that could be the slack line that's dragging it. So we will just bobbling down on the gravel bed there. Yeah, it's just dragging on bottom now. That's it. We want it to just hold on the bottom, if it will. Okay, right, we're going to reposition this rod rest. It wants to be a bit lower. Hope you don't fall in, because falling in is not a good thing to do when the river's in flood like this. Rod rest down a bit lower there, right? Some of this slack. That's better. And that float is still just dragging the bait along the bottom, which is okay, that's not a problem. You might have to put a slightly heavier drilled ball on there. That's good. The alternative, of course, if it keeps pulling like that in the flow, because we've got the line going out like that, we may have to move the rod further up the bank upstream so that the rod is pointing downstream, and that'll help hold the float back, simply because we don't have slack line dragging in the cross current. Okay, reposition. As I said, going to move up the bank there and change the angle of presentation. So we'll just bring that in, nice and slow and gentle. That, there we go. Cover the rod rest. We've got some handy steps here to stand on as well, should we need to land a fish. Right. Rod rest in there, nice and firm. Right. Check hook and bait presentation is correct, which it wasn't. There we go. Okay. Lob that back out there. See? take up all the slack. That's looking better. Now as that comes round, it's going to come in line with the rod tip, hopefully, or just hold there, would be fine. It's not going to hold there, but you can't go much further because there's not much slack line. Now what we have done is we've released the bait runner, so if a fish grabs it and charges off, we're not going to lose the rod. And if that holds bottom there, that will be just about perfect. Okay, so we can't see the float, so that's not a problem, because with the bait runner, we wait for it to start spooling line out. And the floats come back up again because there's been a slight change in the flow of the river, slight current change. It's constantly swirling around, so it's going to drag the float under, it's going to pop back up, it's going to swing one way, it's going to swing another way. It's going to move around, but we'll know if there's a fish on there because it'll do something unnatural. They go against the flow, or quite often they just bobble around like this, or bob, bloop, 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 and then go off sideways. Very rarely do they shoot under like most float bites. But we'll see. Well, time's up. Been here 15 minutes. No action. Bring it in. And we'll move on down to the next slack water. remember to look up the outbursts. The outbursts.